Anti-gun march shut down after who showed up with enough firepower to wage war by Liberty Bell for freedom, actually dailyvine.com. It's the same thing basically, they changed the name. This past weekend, thousands of liberal indoctrinated youths flooded the streets of Washington, D.C. to demand more gun control following the incident in Florida. These teenagers who have not graduated high school have taken it upon themselves to lecture the American people that their right to bear arms is outdated and in need of changing. And they are the very people who will make sure that happens. However, while these gun-grabbing teens were busy tugging at the heartstrings of those who were easily manipulated, they failed to prepare for who showed up with massive firepower in the ultimate showdown. For years, the left has been doing what they can to change the public's perception of the Second Amendment, and sadly, it has been a successful mission. The left knew that the only way they could get people to disarm themselves willingly is by influencing the youth to despise our constitutional rights and beg for the government to control us. Over the last several years, conservatives have seen this disturbing trend occurring in our public schools at an alarming rate, as educators have been teaching revisionist history that paints our founding fathers in history in an unsavory light. You see, that's how they're training them. They're brainwashing. There it is, brainwashing. Now, after close to a decade of this brainwashing, the younger generation is primed and ready to demand our nation's laws be changed in the name of security. After the latest tragic shooting in Florida, a handful of teenagers, with the help of the mainstream media and liberal politicians, to orchestrate a massive rally to demand more gun control in our nation. The rally was called March for Our Lives. Well, you're giving your lives away. That's what you're doing, actually. But besides the point, let's move on. And it took place on Saturday in various cities in America and around the world. However, while these teenagers were demanding the people give up their rights to bear arms, they've failed to notice the irony of their plight, as hundreds of armed security were busy protecting their anti-gun rally. Of course, conservatives did not miss the blatant hypocrisy and quickly compiled the images of the scene of hundreds of good guys with guns protecting those that want to disarm us all. There you have it. Pup Patrol reporting for duty. So much security, but all of the police are and National Guard are so incredibly friendly and supportive. What a great day in D.C. Yeah. D.C. National Guard, part of security for March for Our Lives. Yep. Very strong presence of D.C. police. Here is more from Red State. It is an all too common sight these days. Those shrieking the loudest about guns are unsurprisingly willing to hide behind the shield of armed security. You can attribute all manner of labels to this reality. Hypocrisy, disconnected thinking, elitism, an absence of pragmatism, all are certainly in play, but what these two-faced activists never consider is how their message is rendered impotent when weighed against their actions. At the March for Our Lives taking place in D.C., there was this same stark dichotomy on display. Crystal Hayes from USA Today was excitedly posting numerous photos of the events and some glaring inconsistency on display in few of her tweets. That is some impressive military might. She also included this amusing photo as she walked the parade route. There. Seems the march against guns sure has a high amount of armed security. That's quite an impressive phalanx of weaponized security guarding those speaking out against weapons. I would say so. That's so many today are rallying against armed security in schools while safely speaking from a days protected by armed security has to be looking at as the height of obliviousness. It is a common thread with those leading the charge. Okay. Shannon Watts is a constant voice for gun control, yet has been discovered to benefit from having her own armed security detail. When exposed, she explained it was due to her receiving threats, something normal citizens don't have to worry about. Years ago, Harvey Weinstein had pledged to make a movie that would bring the NRA to its knees. And look what happened to him. He was on the Howard Stern program declaring there was no need for guns, and then he promptly left the studio flanked by his armed detail. Remarkable to make your message invalid in minutes like that. Michael Moore rose to fame by making an ostensibly anti-gun documentary, Bowling for Columbine, when he too was exposed as someone benefiting from gun-toting guards. He explained that he was not carrying himself, but that trained individuals qualified to handle weapons were doing the dirty work. That the general population does not have the disposable income to hire private mercenaries was not a factor in his mind, and today simply extends the ever-present double standard of these gun-nabbing activists. They will wail about us not needing to protect ourselves with weapons and demanding we cede our rights to do so, all while safely ensconced behind the protective lineup of guns. The March for Our Lives rallies are being heavily publicized and financed by groups such as Michael Bloomberg's Every Town for Gun Safety, which is bent on taking away the constitutional rights of law-abiding American citizens. The only way to combat this from occurring is to teach our young people the real history of our nation and how to debate these false narratives from the far-left brainwashed youth. It's too late now. Hopefully in time it will change, but it is going to take a lot of time and energy to turn the tide that has already started. No, too much money has gone into this. They've been brainwashing the kids for decades now. It's never going to happen. Never. You gotta redo the school systems in order for that to happen. That's not going to happen. It's only going to get worse, not better. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.